What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only Tesla stock and what you should be looking after for the future. I'm also going to do some in-depth technical analysis and give you guys my price prediction for tomorrow based off what the charts are showing and based off what the data is suggesting. I'm also going to talk about the stock split as we do have an official date for it now, and also some big announcements for next week before I end this video with tweets from the man, the myth, the legend himself, Elon Musk, as he has some major announcements for all Tesla investors. Now, before I break anything down about Elon Musk, before I talk about what's going on with Tesla's share price, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner, so don't take any of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire Tesla community as a whole. And the last thing is, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $2,500. And you could always sell these 12 free stocks for cash and use that cash to buy some Tesla shares for free. This is a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 1 week, so please check it out to get those 12 free stocks. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So Tesla was down 6.63% for the day on Friday, and also it's a little bit down in the after hours. That's kind of like an indication that this thing has a little bit more room to drop before we get a nice bounce. Now, in my personal opinion, there are some key things we have to look at before really understanding what Tesla's doing, because the new news came out that we have an official date for the stock split. And just as a reminder, it's going to be by the close of August 24th. So what they're going to essentially do is, if you actually look down right here, you could see each shareholder on record for August 17th, 2022 will receive a dividend of 2 additional shares of common stock for each that they held from that point, essentially. And it's actually going to be distributed after the close of trading on August 24th. So that means that when you actually see the split take place, it's going to start on the 24th after the market closes, but you're going to actually see it on the 25th. That's when the actual adjustments will be made on your charts, on your phones. So be on the lookout for this date. And I do think that this is going to actually help Tesla push up either like a little bit before or even after. And I really think that's going to happen based off the chart. So that's making me believe that Tesla may have some more room to drop, but it should find a bottom relatively soon. And I'm going to show you another reason as to why I feel that way, right? So for next week, we also have CPI that's coming out. This is going to be very important for the markets. I mentioned that yesterday. Once again, it's coming out on August 10th, 2022, which is Wednesday. And it's going to really show the trajectory of the Fed and how on earth our market is going to respond. So in my personal opinion, I don't want you guys to count on a decent CPI report leading to some like very bullish price action for the markets. It is possible, but you have to remember that the market is just all over the place. Sometimes it does unexpected things, but just be on the lookout for this date, because at the end of the day, it has less to do with the chart on the daily basis and more to do with what's the future outlook for our economy. Because if we start to see inflation drop, that's going to be a very good sign for a quicker and a better recovery. So be on the lookout for that. The market is currently pretty neutral right now, right? It's not super greedy, not necessarily fearful. And there are some people that are very uncertain, while others are actually becoming a lot more comfortable. So seeing sentiment in the market kind of improving is a good sign, but there is something I want to look at for SPY that's very important, and it really shows how the market may respond. So right here we have the SPY chart, and you guys can see SPY has been trading very, very kind of like awkwardly in a lot of ways. This thing was pushing up. It was trying to break into that key zone around 415, but then we got a big rejection. It just dropped super hard. Then it pushed up, then it dropped and pushed up. It was very, very interesting to see this crazy price action in just one day. And that's why I mentioned it was just very strange. We saw lots of buyers actually kind of step in near the very end. But I actually have right here on the daily is the Fibonacci retracement chart. I actually drew this out a couple of minutes ago. And what you could see right here is, when it comes to SPY, it's all-time high. If you look at how far this thing retraced down, the 50% retracement zone is around $419. So if the SPY breaks 419, that would be a very bullish signal for the markets, at least historically. If not, I mean, it's very unlikely that that happens, but it is possible. If that's the case, that would be a good sign. If not, we could get a rejection right over there, and that could be the absolute top. Now, another thing that actually happened to SPY, let me actually close this Fibonacci real quick. If we look at the daily and we look at the EMAs, check this out right here. The SPY got a nice 1348 EMA crossover like right here. And I mentioned this was a very bullish sign for the markets. That's why I was pretty bullish for Tesla and the whole market as a whole. And what we noticed is the whole market did push up, but as soon as the SPY actually started to test the 200 EMA, we started to see very strong resistance right here. And the SPY so far has not been able to break past this. So we did test it and we did start to kind of drop from here. It's almost looking like a flag, but not entirely as of right now, unless we see a continuation of downside. I do think SPY is going to kind of range trade from here, trade a little bit sideways, but it could actually start to drop a bit if we can't break past the 200 EMA. So that's the key zone I'm looking out for. If SPY does break this, all right, if the SPY starts to push up, the whole market could actually move to the upside to with it. And then the next zone to look out for SPY is around like 419. If it actually breaks that, that would be a very bullish sign. But so far, it's not looking like it's going to do that. The SPY is showing some choppy signs. So just be on the lookout for that. And I do think this will affect Tesla as well. So for Tesla, this thing was showing some strength. It pushed all the way up to the 940s, which is very awesome. But then it's actually got a big rejection and it started to drop very hard the day after that. So let me actually show you guys something very interesting. So when we look at Tesla, we have this big gap up here, right? There's a big gap that's most likely going to take it all the way up into that 925 to 930 range very soon. Now, I don't think it's going to happen immediately. I still think that Tesla has a little bit more room to drop down before getting a nice bounce. I want to show you exactly where this thing may end up dropping to. So I used the Fibonacci retracement and I found that the 0.618 very key zone would be around 836. So I do think that that should be the zone where we actually see Tesla bounce around maybe 830 a share. But it also depends on manipulation and additional factors out there that we always can't kind of like factor in. So if the whole market turns super bearish, it could drop even lower than that because we do have a gap all the way down around 776 to be filled. So it's either, in my opinion, most likely going to bounce at 830 or 776, depending on how bearish it turns out to be. But I am aiming towards an $830 bounce because the stock split is not that far away. The stock split's actually happening in just a couple of weeks. And I think that a lot of individuals in the markets are actually going to become very excited for this stock split dividend. So with that said, what I'm essentially seeing for Tesla is this. I think we are kind of red in the after hours. I do think the whole market might actually take a bit of a hit a little bit, at least temporarily. And what I think could end up happening is, if you notice this, I mentioned that 858 is that key zone for Tesla. Tesla did get a nice bounce off 856, so I was very close. And I do think that once I zoom out of this and make this look a little better, I do think that Tesla has a little bit more room for downside. I still think it's going to bounce around 830. That's my key zone. And I really want to see it hold that, because if it doesn't hold 830, it's most likely going to start to test that low 800s and maybe even fill the gap all the way down in 776. Now, I'm not seeing that happening just yet. So far, I think that what could happen to Tesla is it's going to try to hold this key support zone, and into open it might actually dump again. It's around $830 a share, and I'm hoping we get a nice bounce off 830. We kind of bounce like this, we push up, and I think that we were kind of like super oversold on Friday. So with that said, it's Monday now, and I really think that this thing could get a nice move going into Monday. So we could push to the green for some time. And I think it might kind of range trade for the majority of the day between 880 and 858. So I'm anticipating it to kind of trade a little bit sideways into close, but we might get some nice volume near the end of the day, and we might actually close slightly in the green. So I am still aiming for a slightly green close, but I do think this thing has a little bit more room to kind of bounce off that 830 range. Now, just a key reminder that support and resistance levels are kind of like the most important thing you got to look out for when it comes to trading or even looking at Tesla, just so that you have a good idea of what to look out for. So if Tesla actually gets rejected off 856 or 858, that like support zone right there, I expect this thing to test the 830 to 840 range, more like the 830 range. And if that doesn't hold us, if it's still even more bearish, I could see this thing going all the way down to the 800s. Because then if we do end up doing this, right, if this happens in one day, then it seems very likely that this thing will eventually fill the gap around Tuesday or something like that. But if this thing starts to push up, All right, these support zones actually become resistance levels as well. So just like this, once we get a nice bounce, this 858 range could become resistance. And if we break past that, then 881 becomes another key resistance level. It's around that 880 zone. And then if we break past that, then 900 and then the 925, 940 range, just be very, very attentive to these zones and be very, very cautious with how you are trading. Now, if I were to hide all the drawings just real quick and kind of use some more technical analysis to give you guys a better understanding, on the daily time frame, this thing made a very nice move, and it does need to cool off its RSI a bit. So with that said, I think like a bit of a drop is completely fine. I just really hope it doesn't drop down too hard. On the daily time frame, we got this nice signal line and MACD crossover showing lots of momentum that kept continuing, and the momentum got stronger. You could see these bars right here got bigger and bigger and bigger on the histograms. And what happened was it's starting to curl now. So this is a sign that this thing has more downside to come. And I'm really hoping for that 830 bounce. I can't guarantee that's going to happen, but if that happens, that would be a very good sign. If not, remember that 776 zone. But I did predict that we would get a bounce, so I'm really hoping for that because we do have a gap up here as well in the 900s, which Tesla will eventually come back to, I believe, as we get closer to the stock split time. But with that out of the way, this is essentially what I'm seeing. RSI did drop a bit, and I am thinking that it's just kind of like a cool off, completely normal, nothing to be too worried about as of right now. Now, when it comes to downside for the markets, right, the overall macro economy is what's really going to affect it. I want to talk about this CPI report. I don't know how the market will truly respond to this on a daily time frame, because the truth is I think CPI is going to be a little bit lower this next report that comes out for the month of July compared to June, and it's very similar to what Elon Musk talked about, right? He mentioned the fact that he believed inflation peaked for the month of June and it's going to start coming down. So that does seem like what is going to happen. Now, just because CPI comes out really good, does it guarantee the market is just going to rally? I mean, I would be a little bit more bullish than bearish for the day of Wednesday, but I don't know for sure because sometimes the market is just all over the place. But I just want to kind of like remind you guys of this and let you guys know that I would be a little bit more bullish than bearish in terms of my sentiment for Wednesday, because I do think CPI should be improving from there. Now, with that out of the way, I want to talk about the last thing that Elon Musk mentioned, and that's what he put on his Twitter page. Now, Elon Musk he mentioned that the full self-driving beta 10.69, it drops on 8/20. So very, very funny. We see what he's trying to reference right over there. And on top of that, we have this big announcement right here. Let me see if this actually zooms in a bit. So guys, Elon Musk actually just announced, and he has this very important date for us, September 30th, 2022. We have AI Day Part 2. So I'm not going to talk about how this may affect Tesla's share price yet, but I want to talk about why on earth I think this is going to be brilliant for Tesla. They have some very big announcements to be made, and I do think we're going to see a lot of progress for their humanoid robots. I think it's going to be very big for the future. And remember what I mentioned in a previous video, this is a massive catalyst for Tesla's future. Elon Musk himself mentioned that the robots Tesla is designing right now are going to be more valuable than the cars themselves, in his opinion. So very big piece of news. Be ready for this. It's going to be a very big date, and Elon Musk is reminding you right now. With that out of the way, I essentially gave you guys my view of Tesla, why on earth I do see a little bit more downside to come. I'm hoping for that 830 bounce. If we don't get it, then look out for 776. And with that out of the way, I mean, I'm still very optimistic. I do think Tesla's going to make a comeback within the next couple of weeks as we get closer to the big stock split. I do see this thing filling the gap all the way up here again in the short term, but that doesn't mean that the whole market is just going to go to all-time highs instantly. I mentioned this in previous videos too. So just always remember, when you're looking at Tesla or trying to trade, do not trade based off your own speculation. You must trade based off what the chart is telling you. What are the indications that the market's going to keep pushing or the market's going to keep dropping? You have to look at your indicators. You have to look at what on earth the support and resistance levels are. And you have to set your emotions aside when making these decisions. All right. So I just want to put it out there. Just make this as clear as possible. Not financial advice, by the way. And it's really up to you. Tesla's a very awesome stock to be swing trading or even day trading or scalping. You could do everything with it. So it's a very good opportunity. Opportunities come no matter which direction the market is moving in, and it's up to you to take them. So I'm putting it all out there. Remain calm, cool, and collected. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Tesla to the moon, because the long-term future is still incredibly bright, and peace out.